Ethan Reed, a soft-spoken architect in his late 30s, moves into a secluded lakeside cabin in the Pine Hollow community to recover from burnout and honor his late grandmother, who once owned the property. The cabin is modest but full of memories: hand-carved banisters, a sunlit porch, and a garden she tended for decades. Ethan values peace above all. The community is governed by a strict, but usually quiet HOA. On his first evening, as he sips tea watching the sunset, a sleek SUV pulls up. Out steps Diane Holloway, HOA chair, impeccably dressed, clipboard in hand, welcoming him with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. She mentions community standards and shared spaces, but Ethan brushes it off, eager to begin his healing. A month passes. Ethan slowly settles in, fixing the porch, planting wildflowers, even waving to neighbors. Then, Diane appears again, this time with a demand: Ethan must vacate his cabin for 2 weeks so she can host her sister's wellness retreat for 10 guests. She claims priority access, due to her HOA role, and insists it's for the greater good of community harmony. Ethan is stunned. He politely refuses, explaining this is his private property, his grandmother's legacy, and the only place he feels at peace. Diane's smile vanishes. She warns him that non-cooperation has consequences, and leaves with a cold stare. Ethan feels uneasy but stands his ground. Over the next week, subtle changes occur. A notice appears on Ethan's door: a violation for unapproved paint color, the same sage green his grandmother used. His recycling bin is tagged for improper sorting. Neighbors whisper as he passes. Then, Diane begins circulating a petition, claiming Ethan is disrupting community aesthetics and refusing to participate in shared events. Ethan tries to reason with the HOA board, attending a meeting where he speaks calmly about ownership rights and emotional connection to his home. Most members remain silent, but Diane dominates the conversation, painting Ethan as selfish and uncooperative. The tension thickens like storm clouds over the lake. One Friday morning, Ethan returns from a hike to find his cabin surrounded by unfamiliar cars and laughter. Diane is hosting a brunch on his porch, guests sipping mimosas in his grandmother's rocking chairs. She claims she assumed he'd come around, and that common areas are shared during high-demand periods. Ethan's voice trembles as he asks them to leave. Diane mocks him, saying, "You're making a scene over chairs." When he firmly insists they vacate his private property, she pulls out her phone and dials 911, accusing him of trespassing on HOA-owned land and harassing guests. A crowd gathers. Ethan stands alone on the steps, heart pounding, as sirens echo through the pines. 2 officers arrive, calm and professional. Ethan presents his deed, tax records, and photos of his grandmother at the cabin. The lead officer quietly confirms the property is legally his. Diane fumes, insisting the spirit of the community overrides paperwork. The officers explain they can't intervene in civil disputes and suggest mediation. As they leave, one quietly tells Ethan, "You've got every right to be here." The guests disperse. Diane storms off, vowing this isn't over. But for the first time, a few neighbors approach Ethan, apologizing, offering help. An elderly woman hands him a jar of homemade jam. "She's been like this for years," she whispers. "We just never said anything." The ripple of courage. Word spreads. Ethan's quiet dignity in the face of pressure resonates. A few other residents come forward with their own stories: unfair fines, intimidation, silenced voices. Ethan doesn't seek revenge. Instead, he proposes a community forum, open dialogue, transparent HOA policies, and a review of bylaws. To everyone's surprise, attendance is high. Under neutral moderation, long-buried frustrations surface, not just about Diane, but about fear, silence, and lost connection. Ethan speaks last, not about himself, but about his grandmother's belief that a home is more than wood and nails, it's where people feel safe. The room falls silent. Then, slow clapping begins. A new season. Months later, the Pine Hollow community is changing. The HOA now has term limits, open meetings, and a resident committee. Diane steps down, moving away quietly. Ethan's cabin remains untouched, its garden now shared, its porch a stop on a new story walk where residents post memories. One evening, a young girl knocks, holding a drawing of the cabin with a rainbow above it. "My mom said this is where people started being kind again," she says. Ethan smiles, hangs the drawing by the door, and watches the sun dip below the trees. He still drinks tea on the porch, but now, sometimes, he's not alone.